In this video, we're going to be talking about the ego. Now, you've probably heard somebody say to you before, you have an ego, or you have a big ego, whenever you've displayed some sort of cockiness or arrogance or high confidence that makes them feel insecure. But what you need to understand is that everybody has an ego. It's just not the same type of ego that everyone thinks of when they hear the word ego. So the ego we're talking about in this video is different, but it is even more important, because it can be very dangerous to your reality if you're unaware of its existence and unaware of how it warps your perception of your reality. Because if it can warp your perception of reality, then it ultimately has the capacity to control your entire life. So if you've been trying to manifest a certain desired reality that you've had in mind for a while, but you're stuck in this limbo space where you don't really resonate with your old circumstances, and you've been doing everything you can to try to get to your desired reality, but at the same time, not much has changed. The issue is that you do not have control over your ego. Your ego has control over you. And this is exactly the foundation that most people miss, because most people are trying to get to level 99 without even getting through level 1, because they're not even aware that there is a level 1. So there's this hidden aspect of them that is controlling them and constantly creating a reality and a life that they do not desire. Now, the good news is that if you felt like you've done everything you can and you're starting to lose a little bit of hope, this video is going to give you the true way forward so that your reality will change in terms of how you experience it and what you manifest and materialize within it. So in this video, we're going to talk about how to master your ego to master your reality. So first, we need to touch on the illusion that you have fallen victim to that is causing your suffering and causing you to feel stuck in this same undesired reality. You are falling for the illusion that circumstances in reality are the obstacles stopping you from having your desired reality. So let's say your desired reality is to have a 10K a month business. So there's you perceiving this desired reality that you want, and at the same time, you're also feeling this resistance and that there are obstacles standing between you and your desired reality. Now, these obstacles that you're perceiving are usually to do with circumstances in reality, and that is the illusion. You think the obstacles to your desired reality are things like inflation being bad, the market being bad. But what you need to understand is that the resistance that you have towards your desired reality has nothing to do with the circumstances in physical reality, but has to do with your reactions to the circumstances in physical reality. So it's not that the market being bad or the economy being bad is stopping you from having a 10K a month business. It's your reaction to the circumstances that you allow to dictate how you approach your desired reality. And so you approach your desired reality out of a state of fear, out of a state of lack, out of a state of scarcity. Now, these reactions are driven by the ego. And the ego's primary function is self-preservation. So it wants to ensure its survival. And in order for it to ensure its survival, it always is going to look to the negative aspects of things and potential threats, no matter what positive aspects are right in front of you. So you could open up your phone and see a low bank balance on your phone. And you could easily choose to view that as an opportunity for growth, thinking and feeling emotions to do with how you're excited that you know you're going to have more, how you're going to see that number increase. But the way your ego reacts to it is it makes you feel broke, it makes you feel scarcity, it makes you feel lack. And then you start having thoughts and emotions to do with feeling that you will never have enough money, or money is hard to make. And I'll give you another example, an exaggerated example to help you understand this even more. You could win the lottery and win $100 million. And the way your ego will react to it, it will still find a way to look for a negative aspect. And the way it will react could still be to worry about losing it all. And so you still feel the same lack, the same scarcity, the same fear, even though you've just won a $100 million lottery. So your obstacle to your desired reality has nothing to do with circumstances in physical reality. Your only opponent that causes you to feel resistance and causes you to feel stuck in the same reality is the ego. So you really need to become aware of how your ego is making you see things in reality, so that then you can create the space to be able to decide to see things the way that you prefer. And then ultimately, once you can do that, you control your experience of reality. So the key takeaway here is that reality is not your opponent. Your only opponent is the ego. Now, if you want to click off this video and you want to continue to believe that reality is your opponent, that it's circumstances in your physical reality that are stopping you from getting to your desired reality, I guarantee you that you will remain a slave to reality. You will constantly be submitting to reality. But if you want to go ahead with this video and you want to learn to gain control of the ego, you will then be able to gain control of your reality. Now, what is the ego? Because we need to understand the ego's true nature, right? What it is and how it operates, so that you can then start to find the blind spots of how it may be causing resistance towards your desired reality. So as I said before, the ego we're referring to has nothing to do with a prideful trait like cockiness or arrogance. The ego is simply the aspect of you that is locked to the physical plane. So we can only experience reality through your 5 senses. And you might be thinking right now, oh cool, so my ego experiences everything then, right? Wrong. Your 5 senses can only ever perceive 0.0035% of the entire electromagnetic spectrum, which therefore means you can only ever perceive 0.0035% of the entirety of reality. And this is exactly why you have been suffering and felt like you have no control over change and outcomes in your reality. Because you're thinking this 0.0035% is all there is, and you have no awareness or understanding of the other components of reality that come into play when it comes to the reality that you ultimately create. So the ego is essentially your persona that is a child of physical reality, because it is a combination of, or an amalgamation of, everything that it has been conditioned with up until this point through your experiences of physical reality. Now, I reference it as a child of physical reality because your ego looks to physical reality as its parent. It's always looking to physical reality, asking the question, how should I live? How should I think? How should I act? How should I feel? And then physical reality as the parent teaches your ego what to do and how to feel. And then your ego just follows it. So if you're identified with the ego, you're going to be feeling exactly what physical reality wants you to feel. But that's exactly what we don't want, right? It's fine to see a majority of people struggling with money. But what we don't want is to see that and then automatically feel that money is hard to make, that money is scarce. But you do anyway, because physical reality taught that to your ego, and you're identified with the ego. So we can look at the ego as this character in this game of life that your true self, the soul, your higher self, is playing. So your persona, your character, is this idea that my name is Mike, and this is all that I've experienced up until this point. This is my story, and therefore, this is who I am. That's BS. That's just your ego. You are not the character. You are the one playing the character. And we know this because you are not your body and you are not your mind. You are the awareness, the soul, observing them, right? If you can observe something, then you cannot be that thing, which is how we know you are just pure awareness. You're this soul, the thing we call your higher self. So you're this soul that is a fragment of the source consciousness that makes up everything in this universe, that is just inhabiting and animating this human body to have this physical experience. So if you've ever seen the movie Soul, I think is it a Pixar movie? Pixar, Disney, one of the, something like that. I actually watched that for the first time a few weeks ago, and it has a very similar concept where it's exactly what I just said. They're a soul that inhabits a meat suit of a body, right? But the meat suit of the body is not them. Who they truly are is the soul inhabiting and flowing through and animating that body, right? If you haven't seen that movie, I recommend you watch it because that movie opened up a few things to me. It is a really good movie. But the issue here is that the ego doesn't realize that it's just the character. So as I said before, the ego is locked to the physical plane. And since it's locked to the physical plane, it has no awareness of your soul, because your soul exists on a higher plane of existence, the spiritual plane, right? So it doesn't know that it's being controlled by a player. So if you've been identified with the ego, then you have also been unaware up until this point that you are actually the player controlling the character. So can you imagine if in GTA you thought you were the character and didn't know that you were just the player of the character? Right? You wouldn't feel safe doing anything in that game, seeing everything that's going on around you. You'd probably just be an NPC, just stopping at red lights. Or you probably wouldn't even be on the street seeing everything that's going on around you. You'd probably just be hiding in a corner because everybody else has higher levels and crazy weapons and crazy cars, flying vehicles. So you see that everybody else has all the things that you wish you could have. But the only reason they have those things is because they understand that they are the player controlling the character. You just don't understand that you are the player and you identify with the ego, with the character, which is why you're too scared to do anything. And that's reflective of how you may act in your life today. And that's why you struggle to create the life that you actually want. Now, I'm not saying that, I'm not using GTA as an example to go and commit crime and think it's fine, right? I'm just saying that you can reach any level that you want and you can create anything you want in this life, so long as you understand that you are the player and you can control the character in any way that you desire. So you have to come to realize that the ego is just the character, and your true nature, your true self, is the one playing the character. And once you start to truly understand that and realize that, you ultimately get to break the limits of the conditioning of your character and then start deciding how you live and what you create, despite what reality is showing you. So controlling the ego is the starting point to controlling reality the way that you want, which is exactly why phase 1 of my program in my private community is exactly about becoming aware of the ego and then learning to control the ego. Because you cannot manifest anything that you desire in this reality without first controlling the ego. But once you do become aware of the ego and you start to learn how to control it, then all your attempts to manifest and materialize anything you want in this reality becomes light work. It becomes so much easier for you. Now, the dangerous thing about the ego is that most people don't even realize how their ego is controlling them. So we need to start to become aware of the blind spots and how your ego may be affecting your reality. So as I said before, the ego's primary function is self-preservation. Its highest priority is to ensure its survival. And in order to do so, it needs to know what to avoid. And in order to know what to avoid, it needs to look for the negative aspects of things. It needs to look for potential threats. But the issue with this is that if your desired reality is to have a 10K a month business, and you know you need to create content for it, if your ego reacts to that in a way where it thinks, well, what if I post content and then people flame me for my content? Because that feels dangerous to the ego, then you're gonna have an issue when you try to post content consistently to make that business successful. So because the ego's primary function is self-preservation, when it comes to the ego's reactions to physical reality, it is always going to prioritize looking for the negative aspects. Now, the issue isn't necessarily that the ego's reactions are negative. The issue is that you are not aware that you are not the ego. And so you allow the emotions and the beliefs that you adopt that are triggered by your ego's reactions to physical reality to change how you see yourself and the world. So you're identified with your ego's reactions to seeing a low bank balance, seeing how bad inflation is, right? Seeing that the business that you started isn't successful yet, or hearing a few people say, well, the job market is bad right now. It's really bad. And because you're identified with the ego, you allow these reactions to dictate how you approach your desired reality, how you live your life. And so instead of starting that business and building towards that 10K a month business and manifesting and materializing that, instead, you think to yourself, I don't think I have time for a business. I need to focus on keeping my job. So because you're identified with the ego, you identify with those reactions that are negative, and then you live your life in accordance with those reactions, even though they don't serve you at all. Now, all of the outcomes in your reality are determined by your frequency. It is your frequency that creates your reality. And so if, I guess a simple way you can conceptualize that is your frequency is essentially your identity. Now, if you allow the ego to control your identity and therefore your frequency, then you're also allowing your ego to control your entire reality. But what you have to come to understand is that you cannot consciously create reality without first controlling the ego. If you try to manifest a certain desired reality without first becoming aware of and controlling the ego, you are always going to end up with the outcome of having an undesired reality every single time. Because it is not that the ego is directly creating this undesired reality for you. It's because you are unaware of your true self and you're identified with this ego, and so it is easily able to influence you to create what it wants you to create. All because you're not aware that you are not the ego. So it's like you're God looking down at a human on their phone, looking at a low bank balance, and then you as the God going, I'm broke. I'm limited. Man, money must be so hard to make. I don't think I'll ever have enough money. Why do I suffer from lack and limitation? Right? How goofy does that sound? And this is all because you're unaware of your true God-like nature. And so, because you've been unaware, you've been creating within those limits that your ego sets for you. And so you create as if you are truly broke, even though you're not. So if we look at the ego as a vehicle and your soul as the driver of that vehicle, the reason you struggle to create the reality that you want is because you're allowing yourself to be driven by the vehicle, right? It's like your ego is this AI vehicle that's just picking a destination for you and taking you there without any of your input, because you don't realize that you are the one in the driver's seat who is able to drive the vehicle. So you really have to understand that no matter your ego's reactions and the emotions that they trigger or the beliefs that you adopt as a result of your ego's reactions, as the soul, as the player, you can allow all of those things to be there and still get to where you want to go, because you are always driving. You have to remember that. So what you need to do moving forward is shift from living as the ego to living as the higher self by observing your ego objectively. And you really want to get this down, because once you get this down, no matter what circumstances you face in your physical reality, you will always have the ability to decide how you experience it, and therefore what you create in this reality, right? And this is the exact foundation of any type of manifestation or reality creation to your desired reality. Now, how do you actually shift from living as your ego to living as your higher self and ultimately master your ego to master your reality? Well, I have a very simple framework that you can follow. And the first part of that is 1, meditation. So what you want to do is you're either going to sit down or lie down in a quiet space. You don't need any music. You don't need any guided meditations or anything else like that. You just need silence. That's all you need. Now, there are a lot of different types of meditations where you can visualize and do all other sorts of stuff to heal childhood wounds. But in this meditation, all you're going to focus on is connecting with the awareness. And the way you're going to do that is by meditating and observing the thoughts and emotions that come up. And emotions are just the bodily sensations that you feel. So just allow them to be there. So no matter how dangerous a thought or how dangerous and unsafe an emotion may feel, because you're meditating and as the awareness, you know that you are truly safe, nothing can truly harm you, you can fully welcome those thoughts and emotions to just be there. And when you do that, you are truly living as the awareness. And what you want to focus on in this meditation is familiarizing yourself with how it feels to be the awareness rather than your ego self. So the purpose of this meditation is purely to familiarize yourself with the awareness. Familiarize yourself with what it feels like to live as the awareness. And the reason is so that you can carry and cultivate this feeling throughout each day. And this will be the foundation of you being able to create your reality at every single moment. Now, you want to do this meditation for at least 10 minutes per session, right? I find that 5 minutes is a little too short, it's a little bit iffy to fully connect with the awareness. You're kind of just on a surface level relaxation. 10 minutes is enough time to deepen that connection, right? So 10 minutes per session, and you want to do this meditation at least one time per day, right? So once a day, and I highly recommend doing it in the morning, first thing when you wake up before you do anything else, because it really sets you up for the day, right? Your frequency speaks before you've even spoken for the rest of your day. But I highly recommend, if you can, doing this 2 to 3 times a day. So once in the morning, once at night, and one time in the middle of the day if you can find a quiet space and some time to meditate for 10 minutes. Right? And I understand if you can't do that based on your circumstances and physical reality, right? But if you can, do it, right? Try to find a way, because when you do this 2 to 3 times a day, it kind of just wraps your whole day in how you want to experience it. Sometimes if you do a meditation just once in the morning, throughout the day, you can kind of slip out of that frequency and just slip back into living through the ego as the old frequency, as the old self, right? And that's not what we want. So as I said, the purpose of this meditation is to familiarize yourself as the awareness, to build the foundation of what it feels like to live as the awareness. You can carry this throughout each day. Now, once you start to become familiar with what it feels like to live as the awareness, then you need to, two, observe your ego objectively throughout each day. So your ego is inevitably going to react to circumstances in your physical reality. But what you want to do is allow the reaction to come up. Allow the thoughts, the emotions, the bodily sensations, the beliefs that you have about the situation to come up fully and just be there. You don't want to identify with and judge the things that come up. Just observe them objectively. And what you want to do here is not suppress what's coming up, no matter how unsafe it feels. You want to just stay aware and allow them to finish their cycle. So you may be triggered throughout the day where things in your physical reality may cause you to feel anger or worry or anxious or stressed. But what you want to do as the awareness is to just observe all of these aspects, right? Stay aware and just actually welcome them. Allow them to come up without suppressing them. Allow them to fully be there, feel everything, experience everything, and then you'll know once they finish their cycle, because your mind will then start to quieten down, and then your body will start to soften. It will start to release the tension that you were just feeling. So your body moves back into a parasympathetic state. See, when most people are triggered by these things, they don't feel safe feeling them, and so they suppress them. But then they never allow those things to finish the cycle, and so they're constantly stuck in this sympathetic state of fight or flight, of constant stress. That's why so many people these days are like that. That's exactly why you want to allow these things to finish their cycle. So the goal of this step is to observe your ego's reactions without identifying with them. Now in step 3, you want to consciously control and drive the ego in the way that you decide. So no matter what physical reality is showing you, no matter how your ego reacts, not only do you not want to identify with these aspects, but in this step, you want to consciously cultivate how you want to feel in the moment, as if your desired reality has already happened. You want to view your desired reality as a memory, not as something that you want. And this is exactly what I teach in phase 2 of my program in my private community, getting you calibrated to your desired reality so that it feels like it's already happened. Right? So if that's something you're interested in learning, feel free to join my private community, Reality Benders. The link is in the description if you want to join that. But essentially, no matter what physical reality is showing you, in this step, you never allow it to dictate how you move throughout life and how you perceive yourself and reality. It's like your ego is constantly trying to drive you off-road, but you understand that you have control of the wheel at all times, and you get to drive exactly where you want to go. And this is all because you now understand who you truly are, what your true nature is, right? This godlike nature that is powerful, that is limitless, that is, by nature, a creator, and is exactly what you use to create your reality and decide how you experience it. So once you get these 3 things down, you will then be able to consciously decide how you experience your reality and therefore what you create within this reality. And that is exactly how you master your ego to master your reality. Now, if you want to create your desired reality, create a purpose-driven life through alignment and not force, You can join my private community. The link is in the description if you're interested in joining. Otherwise, I am planning to upload more YouTube videos for you guys, so if you don't want to join the community, you can always just stay tuned for the videos and get the information through that. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one.